Hi, welcome to another Gadget Report. So let's talk gadgets. This week we continue talking about different things that we should consider about choosing a flight, or should I say, choosing a airline. And today I will be talking about something that if you are a tall person, you surely know about this, which is leg room and how important it is to have leg room when you choose your flight and how the lack of it will ruin your trip. So stick around, let's talk gadgets. So let's talk gadgets and let's talk about legroom. I'm pretty sure that this is something that is in everyone's mind, and everyone knows the infamous expression of the cattle class, which is usually the way that the economic class is referred to. and, and not a very pleasant way, I must say. And this is because these days, and we went into a period where obviously airlines, or some airlines, may have lost a bit of the feeling about things, and they started putting profits ahead of quality, and they may have lost a few passengers along the way, because obviously with bigger aircraft, and my beautiful 747 was one of the culprits of the bigger aircraft and more space inside the cabin. There was the prospect of putting more people in, and that will translate in squeezing them inside. And we all know that in some airlines you can go there and be completely squeezed against the seat in front of you, which can be very, very uncomfortable. If it's just a domestic flight of 1 hour or 1.5 hours, it's bearable. You can, easily get away with it because it's just that little trip. You'll be out in no time, it'll be over, and that's fine. But of course, if you are going to do it on a long haul flight, for example, from Sydney to Lisbon, and you're going to be on a 12-hour flight inside the aircraft with absolutely no space to move, that is going to ruin your trip. You're going to feel very uncomfortable, and it's something that it's not nice. And I think airlines these days are starting to rethink this issue, and they are starting to see how damaging that can be, because obviously passengers shop around. Everyone does, not only for pricing, and we've been talking about this over the course of this month. Even though pricing is definitely something that everyone considers when booking a flight, because obviously we are not millionaires. Otherwise we would be flying in first class and problem solved. But there's also other things that everyone considers when booking a flight, and this is one of them. It's legroom. And if there is an airline that has reviews for being really, really, really bad in terms of legroom, obviously if you are a tall person, you are not going to go with that airline because you know how miserable it can be. And airlines are taking this on board. And I think now, after what we went through over the past 2 years and all the disruption this sector has had, and the fact that the capacity inside an aircraft may never be exactly the same as it was before, for all sorts of reasons, people are not that confident about being in a crowded place as they were before. And and the risks involved, because obviously the situation is not over, and people may look about these things, and obviously airlines want to look about it too, because they want the passengers, especially now that they had 2 years of disruption. They want to go back on track, So they want to do the best to get those passengers in, to get those passengers back onto their aircrafts and getting them in the air. So this is something that needs to be addressed. Qantas has announced, and I've written about that, Qantas has announced their plan for a bigger aircraft for all their fleet renovation, and their CEO Alan Joyce said, it was one of the things that he said, that comfort will be one of the features of this new fleet. They will be looking for more space, for comfort for passengers, and that's something that everyone is looking forward to. Other airlines, I believe, will be happening the same, and they will be looking at exactly the same. And why? Because we all know, if we are putting an aircraft, as I said, for 12 hours, a 12-hour flight, and you have to be sit on a spot that you can barely move because the seat in front of you is right in your face. If you try to, for example, if you try to move, or if you try to go to the toilet or something, you have to ask permission to the other person. You have to cause all this sort of disruption, which in a long haul flight is quite problematic, because most people take that opportunity to sleep. If you have the other person in front of you also sleeping and declining the seat, and you have the seat right in front of your face, it's an absolute mess. I had the experience with a flight last time I went to Portugal, and it was a beautiful 747. I really, it shattered me because it's my favorite aircraft, but the legroom was so bad that even for me, my husband is 1.87 meters tall, which is quite tall, as you can see, and I'm just 1.60, and even for me it was so bad that I had my jacket, a leather jacket that I had my jacket on top of my bag, and the room that we had was so bad. We were so squeezed in that tiny little compartment that when I got to Sydney, my jacket was all ripped apart. The leather in the jacket was all ripped apart. I had to put it in the bin, and I was really, really upset because it was a very good jacket, and it was ruined basically. And we didn't have room for anything. We didn't have room, and this was my experience. Obviously for my husband was way worse because he's way taller than me. We could not move. It was truly uncomfortable, and obviously it was on the longest flight from Frankfurt to Singapore, and it was excruciating. It was really a bad experience, and something like that can ruin your trip, and also the image that you have about a certain airline. And I think that's the reason why airlines are looking about this. So read plenty of reviews. If you're going to book a trip, read plenty of reviews. See what the other people think about that particular airline. See if they mention anything about legroom. See if they mention anything wrong about legroom. And if really they say that you are going into cattle class, because definitely that flight was the true definition of cattle class. If you are going into cattle class, I think it's worth it to pay a few dollars more and go with another airline that will provide you a better service. This is my personal view. I think this is something very important because it's something that honestly can ruin your trip. So that's why I decided to talk about this today, because it is really, really important, and it's something that we should all consider. And sometimes it doesn't really need to be that expensive. It doesn't really need to be, much more expensive than that particular flight, because it might be just a comparable airline that happens to offer a better service and better comfort aboard. So just have a look, shop around. Is always the secret to get a better deal, is to shop around. And that's all for today. I hope you really liked this video, even though the topic was something really unpleasant for most of us. And I hope that if you have an experience that, or maybe you had a very good experience with a particular airline, please let us know. That's the kind of news that we all want to know about. So if you went with an airline in a very long haul flight and you had an extremely good experience, plenty of legroom and good service, just pop in your comment in the comments below and let us all know about it. I think not only that airline will thank you for it, but we all thank you for it as well, because that's the kind of thing that we all want to know, is that some airline provides a good comfort and good service. But if, just like myself, you had a bad experience with a particular airline, share as well, because it's always good to know as well the ones that you should stay away from. And not because we just want to do bad publicity or negative or provide a negative feedback to that airline. I don't think that's the intent of it at all. I think you cannot correct something that you've done wrong if you're not aware of it. I'm pretty sure that in this particular case, any airline that does this, and any airline that really put as many seats in a small space and thinks it's okay, I'm pretty sure they are aware how uncomfortable it is for their passengers and how bad it is. And that in the end, it may just not be giving them the result that they want, because the passengers may fly once and after a terrible experience, they may stay away from them. So the result may be kind of instant in the moment, but then it will vanish and will end up being the opposite. So I don't think it's worth it anyway. But I think the airlines are aware. That's the point I was trying to make. I think the airlines are aware in this particular issue. I think they are aware of what they're doing, but it's always good that if you put a review, not just for the negative comment, because I think negativity and negative comments do not take you anywhere and do not change anything. What I think is a constructive criticism, saying that, well, I didn't really have a good experience in airline such and such, because it was like this, there was no leg room, I did not have space to move, and it was horrible. I would fly with that airline possibly in the future, but of course, in the current state of things, I will not fly with them again. And this is good feedback for them. It's good for them to know that clients and passengers are not happy and they should do something about it. So it's the same way that I strongly advocate for a good review. If you have a good review, which most of us unfortunately don't do, it is also important to put a review, a constructive criticism, saying that something wasn't really good and that you would like to see it changed, because that's how things happen. If we honestly provide our feedback in anything that we do, in every service that we hire, if we provide our feedback, it is good for that service, it is good for that company to improve if there's anything they could improve, and there's always something you can improve. And obviously, it is a way of them knowing what their customers are thinking. And that's a good thing. So leave a comment, leave your opinion, share share with us your opinion, and let's all talk about this. And put a like on the video and subscribe the channel with a little click on that bell so you get a notification of a new gadget report every week. So if you like gadgets as much as I do, you surely would do that, and you will get a new talk about gadgets every week because we all love them, don't we? So before I go, I would like to thank you all for watching and wish you all a very good week. See you next week. Thank you very much. Bye.